Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. Tonight we'll have all your international, national, and local news. I'm Brendan McNamara.
And I'm Colleen Winder. Former President Donald Trump has just been handed a massive legal fine. Find out what for and what he plans to do next. Coming up.
And in Point Park news, students across the entire school just held a photography art show for their new pieces. See their artworks and hear about their reactions to being selected.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu shrugged off growing concerns over the war in Gaza on Sunday, vowing to, quote, finish the job, end quote, as a member of his war cabinet threatened to invade Rafah in southern Gaza if hostages are not released by Ramadan, the Muslim holy month. While the Israeli government has not publicly discussed a timeline for a ground offensive in Rafah, more than half of Gaza's population of 2.3 million has taken refuge there. Benny Gantz, a retired general and a member of Netanyahu's war cabinet, has an influential voice in the cabinet, but does not represent the final word on what may come. Speaking to a conference of Jewish American leaders, he said, quote, if by Ramadan our hostages are not home, the fighting will continue to the Rafah area, end quote. Ramadan is expected to commence on March 10th, and it is historically a tense time in the Middle East region. Netanyahu has called demands by Hamas delusional, and talks to broker a ceasefire have begun to struggle in recent weeks. Netanyahu wants Israel to achieve total victory over Hamas and opposes Palestinian statehood, which has put Israel in a defensive position politically, as many countries across the world are condemning Israel's actions.
Putin's biggest foe and critic, Alexei Navalny, at age 47, died in prison this past Friday. Navalny was serving a 19-year sentence for extremism in a penal colony north of the Arctic Circle, one of Russia's most brutal prisons. Navalny reported felt sick after taking a walk on Friday and lost consciousness. An ambulance was called, but emergency officials were unable to revive him. The cause of death is still being established at the moment. Navalny's death has sparked unforeseen protests from his followers across the country. More than 100 arrests have been made in cities like St. Petersburg, Moscow, and cities in the Arctic Circle. After hearing of his death, Navalny's wife, Yulia Navalnaya, made an appearance at the press conference in Germany, saying, quote, but if this is true, I want Putin and everyone around Putin, Putin's friends, his government, to know that they will bear responsibility for what they did to our country, to my family and to my husband, and this day will come very soon, end quote. Other foreign leaders have spoken out since his death, praising Navalny for his efforts. President Biden remarked, quote, there is no doubt that the death of Navalny was a consequence of something Putin and his thugs did, end quote. Russia made many attempts at silencing Navalny inside prison by punishing him and placing him in isolation. He reportedly was put in solitary confinement more than 27 times, spending 280 days in isolation. Navalny had been in prison since January 2021, when he bravely returned to Russia and submitted himself to Russian authorities. After receiving treatment in Germany for an attempted poisoning, Navalny was most known for his efforts making known Russian administration, corruption, and staging anti-Kremlin protests. Through Navalny and his death, his efforts are still continued by his loyal followers. The country of Greece had just made a landmark decision regarding same-sex couples in the country. Reporter Logar Abdis has the details on what the government is ruling. Logar?
In an unprecedented move last Thursday, the Greek parliament voted to legalize same-sex marriage across the country. The bill, first drafted by Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis, also provided equal parental rights to same-sex couples. Despite 16 other countries in the European Union having previously legalized civil unions between same-sex couples, Greece becomes the first Orthodox Christian country to do so. Recent opinion polls showed a stark divide in public opinion regarding the bill. The influential and socially conservative Orthodox Church strongly opposed legalizing same-sex marriage, citing the belief that homosexuality is a sin. However, the same opinion poll showed that many Greek citizens supported the reform, believing it to be a step in the right direction for the country. Ermina Papadima is a member of the Greek Transgender Support Association who, after the decision, said, quote, I'm very proud as a Greek citizen because Greek is actually now one of the most progressive countries. I think the mindset is going to change. We have to wait, but I think the laws are going to help with that, end quote. For now, Prime Minister Mitsotakis stated to his cabinet that there should be no, quote, no second-class citizens or children of a lesser god, end quote. He also added that, quote, this is a milestone for human rights, reflecting today's Greece, a progressive and democratic country, passionately committed to European values, end quote.
World record marathon holder Kelvin Kiptum has passed away at the age of 24. Kiptum has the record for fastest marathon and 3 of the fastest 7 ever recorded. When visiting his family and training in his home country of Kenya, Kiptum would veer off the road when driving and it would cost him his life. In recent years, the Global South has seen a massive increase in vehicle-related deaths due to the new amount of cars that are on the road compared to 10 or even 20 years ago. In a broadcast from a few months ago, commentator Michael Kaloki said this about Kiptum and his impact. Quote, it is on similar hills like these, ones in Kenya's Rift Valley region, where a young Kelvin Kiptum would train and later proceed to represent the country on the international marathon circuit. For many Kenyans, Kiptum was not just a source of pride for the country, he was an example of hope, end quote. The Kenyan government is actively overseeing funeral arrangements for the athlete and compensating his family. After moving to Madrid, Spain just a few weeks ago, a woman has vanished after unnerving messages were sent to her friends. Reporter Robert Fortanero has the details. Robert?
An American woman has gone missing while traveling to Spain in December. Ana Maria Nezovic traveled from South Florida to Madrid for a personal vacation, but 2 weeks ago, she vanished. Shortly before, a man seen wearing a motorcycle helmet disabled the security cameras at her apartment with spray paint. The next day, 2 of her friends received separate messages, one in Spanish and one in English, from the woman's phone stating she had run off with a man she had just met. Sana Ramu, the friend who received the English message, said, quote, she wouldn't do this. It is very unsafe and crazy behavior, end quote. Police in both Madrid and Fort Lauderdale were notified, sparking investigations on both sides of the Atlantic. Spain's Missing Person Association has posted Nezovic's photograph around the nation's capital, but has not received any responses. Spokesman Joanna Amils said, quote, for now, all of Anna's friends and family can do is wait. I hope she is found safe and well, end quote.
Doctors are protesting a possible increase in ranks in South Korea after a proposed plan to increase medical school admissions. This past Tuesday, 1,630 doctors did not show up for work alongside 6,415 junior doctors sending letters of resignation in protest. According to the South Korean Health Ministry, President Yoon Suk-yeol announced plans to earlier this month to increase medical school admission by 65%. South Korea's highly privatized healthcare system means that increased competition would lower the income of doctors across the board. Additionally, junior doctors are more likely to be affected as they are in the beginning of their career. The walkout resulted in emergency operations in several hospitals, and government officials are worried that wider strike could be on the horizon. Coming up after the break, hear about a tragic shooting that took place on a Colorado college campus. Also, a new Alabama ruling has even further pushed back abortion rights movements in the state. Hear what the ruling is, more, and coming up.
The Daytona 500 was postponed due to a few days of rain. The season opening race was originally scheduled for Sunday afternoon, although the weather forecast put that in doubt. The last practice for drivers was canceled Saturday, as well as the Xfinity Series race. Both races were rescheduled for Monday, with the Xfinity Series taking place hours before the Daytona 500. The last time the Daytona 500 was postponed was a full day back in 2012. NASCAR made the call Sunday morning in an effort to prevent fans from sitting in the rain while awaiting a decision. Despite the postponement, NASCAR and Daytona continued with many of the pre-race activities, including celebrity visits from Pitbull and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
This past Friday, former President Donald Trump was found guilty of conspiracy, fraud, issuing false business records, and false financial statements. Judge Arthur Engoron ordered Trump to pay $355 million, not including interest, which could easily raise the fee to $450 million. In addition to the fine, Trump is also banned from holding any top position in a business in New York for 3 years. Judge Engoron also extended this ruling to Trump's two sons, as they were also barred from being executives for 2 years and must pay $4 million in fines. One of Trump's lawyers, Alina Habba, commented on the ruling, saying, quote, "It's a manifest injustice, plain and simple. As well as given and grave stakes, we trust that the appellate division will overturn this egregious verdict," end quote. For years, Trump was found to be exaggerating his property sizes and their value. His biggest exaggeration was found to be the triple-plex apartment inside of Trump Tower. Trump had valued it to be 30,000 square feet, when in reality it was only 10,996 square feet. Regarding Trump's action, Judge Engoron said, quote, "This is a venial sin, not a mortal sin. Defendants did not commit murder or arson. They did not rob a bank at gunpoint. Donald Trump is not Bernard Madoff yet. Defendants are incapable of admitting the error to their ways. Instead, they adopt a see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil posture that the evidence belies," end quote. Trump and his team are currently planning on appealing the ruling, an action Judge Engoron made clear he was expecting to happen. Trump's attorney, Christopher Kise, said, quote, "Trump will appeal and the remains confident appellate division will ultimately correct the innumerable and catastrophic errors made," end quote. The appeal is expected to be held within the court for the long-term foreseeable future. A tragedy took place in Colorado Springs this past Friday, with 2 students being killed on the college campus. Reporter Juliana Brock has more information on the suspect and the school's reaction.
2 students were shot and killed at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs campus on Friday, February 16th. Campus police received a call at 6 a.m. at the Creststone House in the Alpine Village area. When they arrived at 6:05, 2 students were found dead. The victims are 26-year-old Celie Rain Montgomery, who is not a student, and 24-year-old Samuel Knopp, who was a student. The suspect is 25-year-old Nicholas Jordan, who was a student at the university and was the roommate of Knopp. Jordan is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. He was taken into custody on Monday morning and is being held on a $1 million bond. Students received the first notice of lockdown just after 7 that morning, and shelter-in-place orders varied until around 9:36 that morning. The campus was closed on Saturday and Sunday, and classes were canceled Monday. On Monday afternoon, a healing march was held on campus as a vigil for the students who lost their lives in the tragedy.
Thanks, Juliana. A stingray from North Carolina Aquarium has become pregnant after not sharing her tank with any males for at least 8 years. Charlotte, a round stingray from Hendersonville, is expected to deliver soon, but has not as of this broadcast. The mystery behind her pregnancy has left many to blame one of the 5 male sharks in her tank to be the reason for this phenomenon, as she was covered in shark bites that could signal this event. AP News has since debunked this and has blamed the result on a rare method of asexual reproduction. After nearly 4 decades in prison, a Florida man has won a large settlement in relation to his wrongful conviction and imprisonment. Reporter Logar Abdis joins us with the details on this case. Logar?
The Tampa City Council voted unanimously to pass a resolution last Thursday awarding $14 million to a man wrongfully convicted and sent to prison for 37 years. Then 18-year-old Robert Dubois was arrested in 1983 in connection to the rape and murder of 19-year-old Barbara Grams. He was convicted of first-degree murder and attempted sexual battery in 1985. Dubois was originally sentenced to death, but later had it reduced to life in prison. However, the now 59-year-old was exonerated in September 2020 as DNA evidence concluded that he was not involved with the case. Dubois then proceeded to sue the city of Tampa, 4 former police officers, and the forensics dentist involved with his conviction. The lawsuit was settled on January 11th, but the city council did not vote to approve it until last Thursday. Councilmember Luis Vieira stated that, quote, "This was a big wrong. I hope and pray the settlement will give him some measure of comfort," end quote. Dubois now works as a maintenance director at a Tampa area country club. After the council made their decision, Dubois said, quote, "The settlement means to me it's finally over. I'm glad I don't have to spend any more years of my life pursuing this. Money, houses, cars, none of that stuff can ever restore what I lost. I don't feel bitter about anything. I don't want to waste my time with bitterness and pity parties," end quote.
The Alabama Supreme Court has just ruled that the destruction of frozen embryos may result in criminal liability, as they are considered children under law. This ruling was a result of a conversation around a wrongful death lawsuit against a hospital patient who accidentally dropped frozen embryos. This is one of many implementations Alabama has taken against abortion, as the court says these laws, quote, "apply to all children born and unborn," end quote. However, many have concerns about the ruling, as IVF treatments, the procedure of fertilizing an egg manually to induce pregnancy, only requires one fertilized egg out of the many they collect, which leaves the question of where to dispose of the remaining eggs. Coming up after the break, a major charity event just took place on the North Shore in some outfits you might not expect. Plus, someone in Allegheny County had just become much richer thanks to the PA lottery. Find out what the details are when we return.
Ahead of their game against the Los Angeles Kings Sunday night, the Pittsburgh Penguins retired the jersey number of a legend. Jaromir Jagr's number 68 marks just the 3rd number that the Penguins franchise has retired in its half-century existence. Jagr's night was notable because it was a reconciliation in a way. After a decade of playing for the Pens, he would go on to be booed by his former fans as he suited up in a Philadelphia Flyers jersey. The night, however, ended in a disappointing 2-1 loss for the Penguins as Sidney Crosby scored the team's only goal of the game.
This past Saturday, the Pittsburgh Zoo and Aquarium closed its doors for the day. This came after the passing of several animals. The zoo wanted to close out of respect to their employees and allow them to mourn the deaths. The first death occurred was Marithi, the silverback western gorilla. He died at the age of 31 during a procedure to further investigate the cause of his declining health. Suni, the 2-year-old elephant calf, suddenly passed on Friday to a virus that was commonly found in elephants and is extremely hard to cure. Though she received the best care possible, she was unable to overcome the virus. Finally, Hawk, the sea lion, passed on Friday, as well with the cause of death not released. The Pittsburgh Zoo made an announcement on their Facebook page saying, quote, "Animal care will continue to focus on the well-being of resident animals with equal commitment. We will care about the staff and offer this time for grieving and healing," end quote. The zoo notified anyone who has pre-purchased their tickets for Saturday and make other arrangements and plans. The zoo reopened Sunday and will continue to operate under their normal hours. A beloved Pittsburgh event is making its return later this month. Reporter Robert Fornatero has the details on one of the city's most celebrated parades.
The annual Pittsburgh St. Patrick's Day Parade is coming into full swing. The annual event is set to be held on Saturday, March 17th and will feature its traditional marching bands and floats as they travel the downtown streets. Marchers are set to start at 10 a.m., rain, snow, or shine, near the Greyhound bus station at Liberty Avenue and 11th Street, with them ending at the Commonwealth Place. Robert Tierney, a longtime member of the Ireland Institute of Pittsburgh and the Gaelic Athletic Association, has been titled as this year's parade grand marshal. The Miss Smiling Irish Eyes in her court have yet to be announced and are expected to be released in early March. The committee states that parade goers can also expect entertainment to be available in Market Square during and after the event. Pittsburgh police officers are also set to be on hand for public safety. For more information on the event, go to visitpittsburgh.com.
Thank you, Robert. Pennsylvania is now home to another lucky winner of a lottery ticket. The ticket was sold to an unnamed person in Allegheny County last week at a Get-Go along Perry Highway. The Get-Go location is rewarded $5,000 for selling the winning ticket. The ticket was for the game Treasure Hunt. Numbers for the game are drawn daily at around 2 p.m. Some people took to Twitter and Facebook to chat about the win for the lucky Allegheny County native. Some users asked what the next step was when you won that much money on a ticket. You can visit the PA Lottery website when you win for further instruction. It is unclear how much money was spent on the ticket at Get-Go, but in the PA Lottery, the higher the price, the bigger the payout. There are ticket machines everywhere at gas stations and bars around the city, so who knows when the next winner might pop up. A brutal suspected attempted murder has taken place by a Harrisburg district judge against her ex-boyfriend. Reporter Juliana Brock has the details on this case. Jules?
Pennsylvania Magistrate Judge Sonia M. McKnight is suspended from her position after being charged with attempted murder and aggravated assault. The 57-year-old shot her ex-boyfriend, 54-year-old Michael McCoy, in the head as he was sleeping. The incident took place in Harrisburg on February 9th. McCoy, who is now blind in his right eye, told officials that he had returned from a restaurant that evening to find McKnight sitting in her pajamas on the couch. McCoy has been trying to get McKnight to move out of their residence since their one-year relationship ended. McCoy informed McKnight that he was going to get her mother involved if she did not cooperate anymore. Police said, quote, Michael McCoy stated that it was like she finally understood that it was over, end quote. McCoy went to bed around 11 p.m., but woke up a few hours later to, quote, massive head pain and was unable to see. It was then that he started screaming and McKnight began to shout, quote, Mike, what did you do to yourself, while having gunshot residue on her hands. McKnight called the police around 1 in the morning and claimed that she was sleeping and woke up to his screaming. According to KDKA, investigators found neighborhood doorbell videos that suggested McKnight never left home that evening, and there was no one else in the house either. The gun used was registered to McKnight's name. McKnight has previous misconduct allegations on her record and was not charged for shooting her estranged husband in 2019 as prosecutors deemed it as self-defense. For now, McKnight's defense attorney, Corey Leschner, claims that McKnight is innocent and, quote, looks forward to the whole story being told, end quote.
Going from 400 submitted pieces to only 39 on display, the Point Park Juried Art Show exhibition held its opening reception on February 15th. Reporter Logar Abdus and Ethan Romanski were at the event and have details on the art show and the artists that were on display.
Last Thursday, Point Park University hosted their 7th annual Juried Art exhibition. The show, titled Stranger Than Known, featured artwork from 22 Point Park students. 39 pieces of art were selected for the exhibition, focusing on themes of loneliness, isolation, and identity.
It's really nice to have a piece in an actual gallery where people can, from the public can see it, so that's really exciting.
The visual artist selected by a group of jurors was the largest group chosen in the event's history. Associate Professor of Photography at Point Park, April Fridges, spoke to the crowd during the event.
To see the 400 some works come down to this small selection, it's very strong for everybody.
Featured works included photographic prints as well as charcoal mixed media pieces. The visual artists selected for the exhibit come from 11 diverse majors across Point Park University. Senior photography major Sam Waslyak was excited to participate in the event.
I don't know, I'm a senior, so I'm like, oh my gosh, and I have my thesis coming up. It's just a really good experience for thesis also to know how to do everything. I was pretty excited.
For UView Television, I'm Loger Abdis.
And Ethan Rowinski, sending it back to the station.
If you missed out on the opening day, there is still time to visit, but it's the last day is tomorrow. For more details about the show and the exhibit's hours, go to airpgh.com.
While seeing someone outside in their underwear might be unusual on a normal day, hundreds of people ran across the Clemente Bridge this past Sunday for a good cause. The Cupid's Undie Run is an annual marathon that raises money and awareness for neurofibromatosis, a genetic condition affecting the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Proceeds from the event are donated to the Children's Tumor Foundation to find a cure, while the unique clothing choices are to catch the attention of onlookers to the important cause. Despite the unfortunately snowy weather, many showed up to run or to cheer on the runners and raise awareness for this heartfelt issue. As event director Brooke Bissell said in a quote to WPXI, quote, "What better way to attract attention than to have over 300 people running in your underwear in the city of Pittsburgh on a cold, freezing day," end quote. When we come back from the break, hear about a new discovery made of a priceless Pompeii artifact. Also coming up, hear about next week's local weather and how it may affect your spring break plans. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Last March, Silicon Valley workers Daniel Gross and Nat Friedman created the Vesuvius Challenge, which sought to inspire young people to use artificial intelligence to decode burnt scrolls found in a Pompeii library. Now, the grand prize of $700,000 has been split between an Egyptian PhD student in Berlin, Youssef Nader, and SpaceX college intern from Nebraska, Luke Farator, and a Swiss robotics college student, Julian Schilliger. The three men created learning programs that took the rolled-up scrolls papyrus that was turned to charcoal in the Vesuvius eruption over 2,000 years ago and decoded 4 paragraphs of about 140 characters each, with at least 85% of the characters visible. The scroll is believed to discuss Greek music, food, and how to enjoy life, and was decoded without it being unrolled, as the scroll would turn to ash if it was unrolled. The scroll was found in Herculaneum, a villa that might have belonged to Julius Caesar's father-in-law, and is only one of 800 to exist after its discovery 275 years ago. Scientists are still working to decode several more of these scrolls. Spring break is just around the corner for us, but the question is if the weather will be in our favor for a mild break away from school. Weather reporter Aaron Ute has the forecast for tomorrow and the upcoming week. Aaron?
Thanks, Brendan.
Many of us will have our last class before break coming up tomorrow, but it looks like we won't have a very sunny welcome to the time off. While temperatures will stay around the high 40s during each day, reaching a high of 53 degrees, that temperature is coming with rain for most of the day. It'll end up totaling to around half an inch of rain, so make sure if you're driving around the city, you stay safe and plan for any travel disruptions. Wind gusts will reach up to 14 miles per hour, and a classic of a day as ever, Pittsburgh is going to stay under some gray clouds for the entirety of the day. Now looking at your forecast for the rest of the week, while we will get some dips in temperature as we head into the weekend, reaching 49 on Friday and 36 on Saturday, we will bounce back up to the very spring-like temperatures for the rest of the week and the rest of the weekend. Saturday through Monday will be pretty sunny with just a few sparse clouds, and these temperatures will just keep climbing, reaching all the way up to 60 degrees on Monday. Once we get into next Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll keep those warmer temperatures, with it being 63 on Tuesday and 48 on Wednesday, though we will be getting some more rain on both days. That's all I have for you this week. Have a great spring break, Pioneers. Now sending it back to the desk.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television.
You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Colleen Winder.
And I'm Brendan McNamara. From everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening. We'll see you in 2 weeks.